Recording. And we are live. Crank that up. It's a morning of joy, happiness, reflection, and somewhat of a celebration. As we are live on Facebook, welcome to the Hockey Podcast. You can follow us, of course, on Twitter at podcast_hockey. Subscribe on iTunes, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and of course, you're watching on Facebook Live if you're watching now. Welcome to that. My name is Kevin Olenek, and we are starting our morning by recapping. I would suggest to you the biggest comeback in recent Leaf history. Yes, we know there have been many times that the Toronto Maple Leafs have blown a 3-0 series lead. As far as even this series, they blew a lead. Of course, we know about the Boston Bruins, but the Toronto Maple Leafs did it this time. At an incredible final 5 minutes of the third period, came back 3-0, and then despite what Jim Houston said, it was not Kasperi Kapanen, but Austin Matthews that scored the overtime winning goal, and the Leafs are playing and the Columbus Blue Jackets will play in the only Game 5 of the qualifiers remaining on Sunday. Devin Holmes-Smith is with us. Devin, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Tell us what it was like waking up, celebrating an incredible comeback this morning.
Sunshine, rainbows, lollipops, unicorns, all the above. I had a great sleep last night. Went to bed with a smile on. I actually had to do a bit of throat therapy, gargle some Epsom salt, not Epsom salt, but Himalayan salt. And because I was yelling so much within 10 minutes. There's definitely a lot of mixed emotions, but man, I'm happy, and I'm gonna hold on to this today, and then tomorrow's gonna be a different day.
Well, I think let's get into this game. Well, and I'm glad that you're feeling better, and I'm glad you got the salts and the teas, and it sounded like you and Elliot Friedman needed some repairs at least, right? So
yes.
But let's get into this game, and I'm going to start with looking back at this. I'm going to say something that I think is going to sound a little weird. To be fair, I'm going to start by giving credit to Heidi in our messages. She clearly said when this game was halfway through the third period is they could come back. And of course, some idiot, that idiot being me, did the Vince Carter gif saying, "It's over. It's over. It's not happening." And I think it was 3-0 at the time that happened, or it was just about to be. And I was about to tweet out the salary cap comparisons between the Columbus Blue Jackets top 4 and the Toronto Maple Leafs top 4 to join in the parading of what happened. But when you actually look at this game, before that, I know it was 3-0 for Columbus, but it wasn't like Columbus was truly dominating this game.
No, Toronto definitely had the pedal down, and they played pretty well going from the first to the second. It was just, once again, Columbus capitalized on their chances, even though they weren't great chances. If you look at the heat map of where they shot most of their pucks, it was on the left point where Seth Jones was. And Seth Jones had a hell of a game. He played very well. And the Columbus Blue Jackets, they played decent, but I would say for the first 40 minutes, even though the score didn't dictate it, I thought Toronto played better than them for sure.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I think what the Leafs, I want to give credit for the Leafs to really, I think this is the lesson that I took away from this, is they did have to make some adjustments. They put the 3M line together. Sorry again, Calgary Flames fans, but the other 3M line of Matthews, Marner, and 3MT or 2MT Tavares. I called it the new 3M line, the Leaf version of the 3M line. But they put the 3M line together, and that was like the one big line adjustment that they did. But I feel like, to me, this is a team that finally realized that if you stick to your game plan and you stick to your guns and you just play, you have a chance to win. And I also think that there was some rise in leadership. Morgan Riley, I mean, he smashes a stick after the third goal, and you could, like, we've all seen how, like, this series has been full of how John Tortorella has been yelling at players on the bench. There was a moment that there was not a single player looking at Morgan Riley's face. Like, after that third goal, he was just in steam, and everyone else was kind of looking away awkwardly. But he showed leadership there, and I feel like this is like such a huge growth moment for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, it really was. Just going back to that Riley miscue, you know, I feel like he didn't have proper support. If you watch the replay, yeah, you had two players swooping towards the boards on each side of him that he could have passed it to earlier. But when your player has the puck on the blue line and everybody else is going up ice, first of all, Morgan Riley, yeah, you need to do a better decision than cough it up to Nick Foligno, then pass it off to Boone Jenner, and Boone Jenner came in on a breakaway and shot it right over Freddie Anderson. Riley, I've been in that situation before. It is shitty. It sucks. But I feel like Toronto players probably could have supported him a little bit more. And you know, obviously at the end of the game, it doesn't matter. It worked out in Toronto's favor, but it was a massive growing. They having done this in a very important game, come back from a 3-0 deficit is going to be huge going forward, and especially going into Game 5 and the how they did it within the last 4 minutes, scoring 3 goals to tie it up and to push it to OT. I feel like that's going to have a massive check mark for the Leafs going into this next game. And like going forward with going into next year, just as development of players of Matthews, Marner, even Robertson, Nylander, Kapanen, those younger players, and Morgan Riley, Travis Dermott. It's going to be massive for them going forward, having experienced this and gone through the ups and downs of coming back in the playoffs.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that now they have something to hang their hat on in terms of experience that they can take going forward. And they played okay. Freddie Anderson did not play great, but they found a way to win. And I think one of the key turning points of this game was Jason Spezza's fight. And you don't think of fighting. When you think of fighting, you don't think of Jason Spezza. And I know that there's a bunch of people out there that don't like fighting, but there was no question what he did sparked this team. And, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of like, Jason Spezza, he was just like, he's too old. But that's that veteran, like, that's a guy I don't think gets enough. I don't know if he gets enough credit for what he has brought to the Leafs. I don't know. He's brought a bit of a maturity. He's brought a bit of experience in there. You're not going to get a lot of offense from him anymore. He's almost the Louis Eriksson of the Toronto Maple Leafs, I feel like. But I mean, I don't know how truly loved he is or not. But he's just a guy that he came to play. He showed up. He showed up.
First of all, that fourth line, before I get to Spezza, that fourth line played amazing. In the first period, they were buzzing around Columbus's net, and they were creating chances throughout the entire game. And I feel like that was a huge win for the Maple Leafs having their fourth line playing the way that they did. Going to Spezza's fight, when he dropped the gloves, my first instinct was, holy shit. Wow, this is crazy, because Jason Spezza is not a fighter. But if you peel back the layers a little bit, this might be his last contract in the NHL. He saw a chance to spark his team, and it was pure emotion. It wasn't one of those fights like Lucic did off the draw last game of the Flames, and nothing wrong with that. I love it either way. But to me, those spur of the moment passion fights are what really rally a team, especially when you're down. And yeah, Kevin, you're right. It's that was to me the turning point in the game. And yeah, good on Spezza for stepping up. And I truly believe, and the players have said that they really love having Spezza in the room. He jokes around, he's funny, but he also brings that leadership and that professionalism.
Yep. It almost, it certainly felt like it did this. Yeah, it rose from the ashes there for the Toronto Maple Leafs for sure. Yeah, I think the other part of this, where do we go here? I think one of the other big stories for this series has been Austin Matthews. 3 points last night, and scored the winning goal, and stepped up in the third period, unlike some certain superstar that is north of you, that people love. I've got a rant about that later. But this guy has also grown and matured into a guy that he's raised his level. And that's Austin Matthews.
Yes. Hold on. But before we get to Matthews, I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in with something a bit different before I talk about Matthews.
Okay, of course. Tell me where you want to go, because I'm all over.
No. I just want to break it down. So when the 4-minute mark hit, right after that, Nylander scored a garbage goal, and the garbage goal right in front of the net, not pretty, but got the job done. And you need those in the playoffs, and especially with Merzlikins, who came into the game, or came into game 3 halfway through for Korpisalo. He didn't have a goal against him. And that's how you get in the goalie's head, was just bang, crash. It was not Toronto Maple Leafs hockey, but they did it. They did it. And Nylander with that garbage goal was massive. Matthews with that pass underneath Seth Jones' stick to Tavares streaking in. And Tavares did an amazing catch and release, top corner, world-class shot, and a world-class pass from Matthews. To me, that was huge for Tavares and for the team, obviously. And for the tying goal with Hyman, I literally said to my fiance, "Why is Hyman on the ice? Why is he on the ice?" And that was right when he had the puck. He passed it over to Matthews. Matthews with another amazing pass across back to Hyman. And this morning, I actually looked at the game again, and they had a view from behind Hyman. Hyman was actually going far pad for a rebound, another garbage goal, just get pucks on net. And John Tavares was in front of him, screening Merzlikins, and that is the reason why the puck went in the net. He was just trying to get it on net, and that's all you need, especially when you have so much traffic in front. Just get the puck on net. You never know what's going to happen. Go for it. Yeah.
And William Nylander is not known for scoring garbage goals. That's not a William Nylander type of goal that he scored.
Not traditionally, but this year, I noticed that he was actually, instead of being more of a perimeter player, he was actually getting the dirty spots of the ice, going to the net, trying to get to the slot when he had the puck, instead of doing his normal Gretzky turn right when he hits the zone and looking for that pass. He's grown up this year, and that, yeah, you really normally don't see him in front of the net, but he was there, and it was amazing. And yeah, so going to your first conversation or your first comment there before I kind of took a tangent, Matthews. Yes, there's always been questions around him and his willingness to compete. He's just his determination to win, and he has shown up this year. And I feel like that is going to be a springboard for him, and I feel like he's going to be way better off for showing his leadership skills in this playoffs. Because when we did our draft, somebody picked Elias Pettersson before Matthews, and I asked them why, and they said because Pettersson wants to win. Matthews does not. He has not shown that, but you know what? He's shown it now, and it does feel like we won the series from last night, but we still have a game 5 to go tomorrow, Sunday at 6:00 Mountain Time. And you know what? Like I said, I'm going to hang on to this win for right now, and I hope they do too. But they gotta focus for the next game.
Yes. Well, when that podcast comes up, I'm sure that person will be able to justify his position very clearly, and no one will laugh at him for his pick. So, or her pick.
Who knows?
Who knows who that was? Yeah. For those who we've recorded a podcast with the drafting only players on a Canadian that play on a Canadian team. It's 6 forwards, 4 defensemen, 1 goalie. That podcast will be out. It's coming out. We're trying to determine the date on when we'll put that out. Just it's content that we have in the can, as they say. But I mean, this series, you're right. He's shown an ability to lead the team. He's showing like there's a bit more spark there. And maybe also, I think to me, maybe the other thing is give Sheldon Keefe some credit here. He has trusted Matthews more than Babcock did. I mean, who will forget? And Devin certainly won't. Last minute of the game, Mike Babcock puts out Patrick Marleau for a much-needed goal as opposed to Austin Matthews. And Patrick Marleau is not playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins as they're out. And Sheldon Keefe rode Austin Matthews. He trusted Austin Matthews. And I think that's in part how that relationship, that Keefe-Matthews relationship is just, that's a huge change in the organization to what that Babcock-Matthews relationship was.
Yeah, having a good coach and a coach you want to play for is huge for the psyche of players. When you have a not so much a player's coach like a Babcock or Iron Mike, you don't you have a hard time playing for them and doing what they are asking, I find. And you got to have that proper mix of a player's coach like Rod Brindamore, Sheldon Keefe, Jeff Ward, all those types of coaches, I feel like have the respect of the players. It's just up to the players to perform the way they need to. And Keith has gotten that out of Austin Matthews. And the fact that taking a step back and taking a look at the lines in general, they put the quote unquote, Jim Houston called it the super line together of Matthews, Marner, and Tavares in the second period. And Babcock wouldn't have done that. He would have wrote his lines, and he would have probably played Ron Hainsey over Morgan Riley.
Ron Hainsey.
Oh, man.
Ron Hainsey.
Ron Hainsey. Nothing against Ron Hainsey, but he's older. He's a bit of a dinosaur.
He's not Morgan Riley.
He's not Morgan Riley. He doesn't scale like Morgan Riley. He doesn't have the hands of Morgan Riley. Anyways, I'll get off that soapbox. But, the way that Keith put out his lines and was willing to ride or die with his top players, playing with his top players, really shows that he trusts them. And why the hell wouldn't you? Right? You're in a do or die situation. You pulled the goalie with 4 minutes to go to get 3 goals, and that takes some balls to do that. and he did it. So I know a lot of people do not like Sheldon Keefe, who are not Toronto Maple Leafs fans, but you got to give him credit where credit's due right now.
Yeah. So for Columbus, I want to start with the backwards controversy, and then head to the bigger elephant in the room. The Foligno penalty. From a Blue Jackets perspective, that looked like a questionable call. I saw some tweets where it was like, if the Leafs fans saw that call, there would be an outrage. I didn't think it was I'll be honest, I didn't think it was a great call, but I'm also going to counter that. I don't think the Blue Jackets would have won, even if that call didn't happen. I don't think it was because of the Leafs power play that they got is the reason they won the game. That's not the reason they won the game. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand where you're getting at, because I feel like it was pretty even, but once again, the high danger scoring chances were swaying towards the Leafs, and they definitely had more. But that penalty, in my mind, is going to get called every single time, even if it doesn't matter when. Once you have your stick underneath the player and the player trips on your stick, it's a penalty. Period. Simple. From a defensive point of view, the way that Riley was coming in, he was going backhand behind the net, and you got to pivot. You can't be going. You can't, with the way that his skate was. He was trying to get his edge to go behind the net and do a breakout. There's no reason why Foligno should have had his stick right there. And that's what happens. You got to be in control of your stick. It doesn't matter if it's blatant or not. A stick infraction is a stick infraction. You put your stick there, whether it's a slash on the hands, a high stick, or putting a stick right at a player's feet as he's skating or trying to make a move on you, period. So I have no problem, even if it was against the Maple Leafs. It would have been unfortunate. I would have been upset, but I would understand. I understand where the refs are coming from, and I would love to have Tyler Noble's thoughts on this too, right? And because he's a referee, and it's funny if anybody could look at our group chat, it's a lot of hating on the refs, and then Tyler Noble, just being the voice of reasoning.
Tyler's our Zen of our group chat.
Yes.
Tyler or Chris doesn't chat in the group chat. Chris goes in and gives us emoticons and just responds to everything.
Yes. So maybe maybe when the Canucks come on for our next podcast here, which is going to be back to this, listen in, and you can hear what he has to say about it.
Yeah. Let's. Okay, and then I want to go into the bigger elephant in the room here for Columbus. And we talked about old school, and there's no question about who the old school coach here. It's Torts, and yes, he's yelled at Pierre-Luc Dubois, and it has worked. He's turned into a great player. This team is a great team. If you're a player and you blew this lead, are you tuning out? What did you think Torts would do? And as a player, are you stuck? Are you communicated with him, or are you starting to tune him out?
It's hard to say because you're not in the room. But if it was, I feel like either A, he didn't say a damn thing when he went there, or he just said, "You guys know what you did wrong," and then left, or didn't even talk to them until the morning. Or until this morning to collect his thoughts and not say anything stupid. Or I guess there's three options. Or he went in there and just laid into them. Personally, I would not. I wouldn't like that type of coach. But these guys are all professionals. They're playing at the highest they can and the best league in the world with the best coaches. And Tortorella, he definitely is old school. And I feel like he's grown since leaving Vancouver after his little meltdown with Bob Hartley. Yeah, I don't know if they're tuning him out, but they definitely could be. Uh, you have, you do have. They're a blue collar team. They don't have many high flying players with an abundance of skill, like an Austin Matthews, John Tavares, or Mitch Marner. But they do have a Cam Atkinson, Pierre Dubois, Oliver Bjorkstrand. Uh, so I don't know. It really depends. If they are tuning him out, it's not good. That's not a good look, and something needs to change if they are tuning him out. But
I only ask that because I think there was this big assumption that Torts would blow up in the room after that, and I was like, I don't know if he would necessarily blow up. I mean, I don't know, like I don't know. I mean, I think we have some assumptions here, but like it's I guess it's the dynamic between player and coach at that point is just fascinating to me from a Columbus perspective. You blew this lead. You have another game to play. I mean, the nice thing if you're Columbus is you have a game day off to kind of get your thoughts together, I guess. But
yeah, but it's either you go a disappointing dad of you know what you did, or yeah, you just lay into him.
yeah. What are we expecting game 5? I'm going to go negative and then here first for Toronto. What happens? You come back, you make this epic comeback, and then game 5 you lose. What does this mean what does this do for the organization? Is this all for naught, or is this still a growth moment for the Maple Leafs?
It's a growth moment, but at the same time, they would need to come out and come out flying for them to actually grow from this comeback today. If they come out flat and do nothing with the momentum they have from game 4 to game 5, and in an elimination game, then it's all for me. It's all for naught. And as an organization, it's all for naught. But you do have the potential that it resonates with the certain players, and hopefully it resonates with the players that matter, like a Matthews, Marner, Riley types on the team. So yeah, it's you got to hope that they come out flying from it, and that was my concern going into game 4 with Columbus's comeback, and it wasn't as dramatic as the Maple Leafs comeback yesterday for game 4, but yeah, game 3 I thought should have been a springboard for Columbus, and maybe Columbus comes out flat because one thing we forgot to talk about, Kev, was Zach Werenski was not playing for the last half of the third period.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
That might be a massive blow.
Yeah, that's that Jones and Werenski, if they're not the best pair in the NHL, they're in the top 3 at least. I'm still drinking coffee, but I'm not thinking of anybody that I feel close to Jones and Werenski off the top of my head. But
no, Werenski he scored 20 goals this year. The next closest, I believe, was 16. And Jones, he will win a Norris one day, and both are world-class players. So I went to they to me, like you said, it's a little early still, but I can't think of a better pairing. To me, they're number one.
Yeah. So yeah, no, that was a huge loss. And that's going to be a very interesting story heading into game 5 for sure. But these playoffs are a bit of a war of attrition. I think for sure. With the Wild lost Suter, I think that hurt. Yeah, like it's going to be a huge loss going forward for sure. And how Columbus deals with that going forward as well. So you're right. That's another factor. And I thanks for reminding me because I totally forgot about Zach Werenski. But I think we brought that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so yeah, it's if they win, do you feel? I mean, I guess this is early, but I'm just going to put this plant in your head. It's early, literally in the morning. It's early, literally too early. But do you feel that this can give some huge momentum? Do you think that there's a run in this team?
I believe so. if they play the way they played for 60 minutes, the way they played the last game, game 4, with 4 minutes to go, they will go on a run. And if they win game 5, there's a chance that we can get Jake Muzzin back on the point because he is being missed right now.
Yeah.
And
that Leaf defense is not the same without Jake Muzzin.
No, they moved around the defensive pairing, so it's Riley Ceci still, but they had Marincin with Hall, and that pairing was on the ice when Columbus scored their first goal. From a lack of a back check from Justin Hall, he left. He stopped skating at the defensive blue line as there's a 2-on-1 happening, and if he kept on skating, he probably would have stopped that goal from going in. So that was very unfortunate. But then on your third pairing was Dermott Barry, which I really like as well. So they switched up their lineups there. But yeah, having Muzzin on the point is a game changer in my mind.
Yeah, getting him. Yeah, I think that if they get past, we'll have that run. What are couple of things that you have noticed that we're not talking a lot about from Leafland?
The lack of. You really haven't seen Mikheyev. With him being the quote-unquote MVP of the training camp before these qualifiers, he hasn't shown up, and Keefe noticed that. He put him on the third line to start the game with Kerfoot and Kapanen, and Robertson got up with Tavares and Nylander. I didn't see much of the Robertson-Nylander or Robertson, Tavares, Nylander throughout the game. Just the way that it was going, and in the second period, they did put Matthews, Marner, and Tavares together, like I said. But I need to see more from Mikheyev. It seems like he's just a step behind. He's not using his speed. Maybe it's just a confidence thing. I don't know. I need to see more from him. I'm pleasantly surprised with that fourth line. Engvall, Spezza, Clifford. They've played very well in this series, and they need to continue what they're doing and what they've done in the past 2 games specifically. But they've played very, very well. And I guess going to the defense, I'm very impressed with Dermott. I'm not so impressed with Tyson Barrie. Once again, I feel like he's on a pedestal of how many points he had in Colorado, and you think that he'd be pushing more because his contract's up and he's a free agent in the off season. So you think that he'd be trying a little bit more, but it just doesn't seem like he's jiving with the Leafs. So he's been a disappointment, but otherwise, I feel like we've touched on everybody else for the most part. What are your thoughts?
I wonder if we just, with Colorado, I wonder if we got, because of what they did with the Flames, we just got admired with all the shiny toys that were there, and we probably had them higher on our list than maybe should. And that probably included Tyson Barrie. He has offensive capabilities, but in his own zone, he is an adventure for sure. To me, I mean, there shouldn't be a controversy anymore, but Pierre Engvall is your fourth line center. Like, it can't be Freddie Gauthier going forward. I mean, Engvall has cemented that for me as well. I think with Robertson and Mikheyev, I think it's just about learning what to do, and you'll get whatever energy that you have from them. But it's a great advantage that the Leafs will have going forward, that they'll have the ability to put the monster line, the superstar line, whatever you want to call it, the fake 3M line, whatever you want to call it, together in times when you need scoring. That ability and that adaptability, I think, can help the Leafs going forward. But the big thing to me is getting Jake Muzzin back. If he's not back, I think it's going to be whoever they face in the next round. And my God, Devin, I'm just going to point something out. It might be Boston. Do you realize You realize that there's a pretty high possibility that it might be the Boston Bruins. I'm just putting that out there.
If it is, part of me, it's very similar to the Leafs podcast or the Flames podcast we did 2 days ago, with asking, who would you rather see? There's a narrative that, you want to slay the dragon, and, conquer your demons of your past playoffs. But the other on the other side, you want to make sure that you could potentially get through. So if it happens, oh, God help us all. But Boston really hasn't shown up in these in the round robin either. So hopefully they're, if they do play him, hopefully Boston isn't the Boston of last year. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, because I'm hoping not Boston or Tampa.
We'll get there when we get there. I'm just saying that's a possibility if they win. But I think we've covered pretty much everything. We'll go recap the game after Game 5, Leafs Blue Jackets. The only Game 5. There was one sweep, but Friday was Elimination Friday except for the Leafs, and so we'll recap Sunday, the only Game 5 left. And I think actually it's the final game of the qualifiers.
It is, yeah.
So that's it, and then Monday is the who gets Lafreniere or the first pick.
Oh God, can we talk about that just for a second?
Yes, that's We'll delve into it more with Canucks Press, but let's talk about that.
Oilers, Penguins. Are you kidding me? One of those two teams has a damn good chance at getting Lafreniere, and if they do, first of all, if it's Edmonton, fuck off. You're gonna ruin another player, and you're I don't know. It gives them more hope, which kills me. But I don't know. If it's the Penguins, then Lafreniere is going to be either way. If it's one of those two teams, I feel like he's obviously going to win the Calder. He's probably going to be on the wing with McDavid or Malkin or Draisaitl or Crosby, and that's scary. So I really hope it's not either of those two teams.
So if it's the Oilers, I'll dig into this a little bit now. I'm so sick and tired of feeling afraid of this Oiler team. They've been in the playoffs once in 14 years. They've had every opportunity given to them to win everything that more than everything else. They've been the silver spoon franchise of the NHL, and they still can't get it done. The Edmonton Oilers could assimilate Team Canada, and I still wouldn't be afraid of them because they don't know how to win. So I'm not even remotely afraid of the Edmonton Oilers getting Lafreniere. If it's the Penguins, I do wonder if there's a Crosby trade, Crosby trade Malkin conversation that happens within the next couple of years.
Or even trade Letang.
Yeah, I think you open the door to trade one of those three, which is intriguing. It's an intriguing conversation, and people might say it's ridiculous that you would want to trade Crosby, but you look at nobody's untouchable anymore, and I don't know. If you're Malkin, do you want an opportunity to see if you can carry a team to a cup without Crosby?
For sure, and when Crosby's not in the lineup, Malkin usually thrives.
Yeah,
he usually does. And if you talk about trading, does McDavid want to stay up in Edmonton? Does this kind of solidify the fact that they aren't going to take him where he wants to be and wants to go within the time period? Because he's in his prime, like right now until probably he's 30, he's in his prime. But you think he wants one cup? No, he wants multiple cups. And right now, Edmonton Oilers, they're not a cup contender.
I don't know if that's the right question that we need to be asking in Edmonton anymore. Is I don't think that's like, is McDavid going to want to stay there? To me, I'll say what the Oilers fans are not willing to say. I think he needs to take some blame for this series. I really do. I think him and Draisaitl need to take some blame, especially when you look at third period stats between Jonathan Toews and Connor McDavid. Toews had 3 points in the third period. He got a winning goal. He assisted on Kubalik's goal last night. Where was McDavid? McDavid had 1 point in the third period in this series. Toews kicked the crap out of Connor McDavid.
That can't happen.
But,
with being arguably the best player in the world, that cannot happen with an aging Jonathan Toews. Nothing against Jonathan Toews. He's still a great player, but he can't be outplayed by a guy who's past his prime.
Yeah, but nobody in Edmonton wants to have that conversation. Nobody in Edmonton. It's so easy to blame Tippett. It's so easy to blame Cassian. It's so easy to blame the goaltending. It's so easy to blame the defense. But I don't think your best players were your best players. And sure, you can point to the stats. Congratulations, you're winning Art Ross trophies. The objective of this exercise is the Stanley Cup, though.
Exactly. Yep. And well, okay. So if it's not Connor McDavid, or if it is Connor McDavid, what? This isn't an Edmonton Oilers podcast, but I'm curious on what your thoughts are. What do they do in the offseason?
Well, I think Connor McDavid, to me, McDavid and Draisaitl need to figure out how to win when it matters. And I think partially, I wonder if this sounds a little hot takey, but I wonder if McDavid truly is a captain type of player. Nobody's ever going to dispute his ability, but Wayne Gretzky didn't wear the C in Edmonton. It was Mark Messier. Pettersson is not wearing the C in Vancouver. It's Bo Horvat.
Kachuk isn't wearing the C here. I know it's a bit of a hot take there too, but yeah.
Austin Matthews isn't wearing, but there's different reasons for that. But it's John Tavares wearing the C in Toronto.
Yep, for sure.
Like, I don't know, man. I feel like they've thrown so much on Connor McDavid. They have all these expectations of him, and they don't want to criticize him. They've treated him with kid gloves. But to me, when I look at the Oilers, there's a number of issues, but some of the big ones is the perception around 97 and 29.
It's valid. So then you're saying strip McDavid of the C.
I'm not necessarily saying strip McDavid of the C. That sounds brutal, but you almost need to do what San Jose did, and you need to find another guy on that team that can be a leader.
Darnell Nurse?
Very, very clear to me that after McDavid and Draisaitl, and I don't think maybe McDavid just doesn't seem like a captain type of player to me, but there's such a significant drop off. Maybe you put the C on Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Darnell Nurse, I think, is up there too. I feel like Darnell has a lot of leadership skills, and I love the way that he plays. So it also depends on who has that room. You know, and with doing that, I feel like if you do strip McDavid of the C, that might divide the room. That could divide the room for sure. And that would just add to the bullshit that's going on up there. So I understand the thought process, but yeah, it's got to take, that's a lot of confidence to pull that move off.
I'm not saying, again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying strip Connor McDavid of the C. I don't want to use that word. But it's almost like, it's almost just give somebody else that responsibility.
Or maybe
take some of that pressure off Connor McDavid and put it somewhere else so he can be Connor McDavid.
Or you just don't have a C and you just have you roll 4 A's.
Maybe.
And that might light a fire under his ass too. And you know, until he actually proves it, you know, it might be all for naught. So that's a curious conversation, man.
Yeah. I'm getting a response and message, but your brother is messaging me. Gretzky was the C in Edmonton. Messier took over after Wayne got traded. Yes, but when the Oilers were their dynasty, Messier was the C. Messier was the guy with that captaincy.
Yep.
So, all right, we'll take a little bit of a break here. We'll get Sean's probably trying to get into the Zoom here. I think he's knocking on the door now. So we're going to pause this recording. We'll be back for Canucks breakfast in a few minutes here, recapping the Canucks victory over the Minnesota Wild. And I think we're going to get into another longer conversation about the Oilers, obviously. We'll talk about who is a better matchup for which team, because both the Flames and the Canucks will either play the Dallas Stars or the St. Louis Blues. So who's a better matchup for who? And some underrated, underappreciated people in Vancouver that I want to give a shout out to. So stay tuned for that. That will be in the next video, and we will talk to you. So we will talk to you all, obviously, very soon. Bye for now.
I'm Gord Hauser9 on Twitter.
Oh, I didn't.